We are gathered here today to give thanks for Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter. Zack, Berman, Fran Duffy, talking about it and getting ready for the Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship game coming up next on the PHLY Eagles show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles show on a Monday. Oh, I'm over here. We're presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bo Wulf here with all of my friends in studio. I've finally done it. I've finally gone too far, and nobody wants to talk to me. It's just me. Here we go. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday. Yeah, everybody they're just celebrating. They don't want to hang out with me. All right, just kidding. We got Zack Berman. Zack Berman, live from the PHLY Suburbs Studios. How you doing, Zack?
I'm doing great. Good to be on. Been a fun morning, and like 2 o'clock snuck up on me. It was on Anthony's show, the All NFL show. Wrote a story on allphly.com. Followed up from last night. Yeah, no, there's a story up now on Saquon Barkley from last night and a story up on Jalen Carter from today. Haven't gone through all of the game film yet. We'll get through that. And then Nick Sirianni at 3:15. So, yeah, the day snuck up on me, but it's been a productive day.
What do you expect from Nick Sirianni? We're not going to get any Jalen Hurts news, do you think, right?
No.
Or Quinyon Mitchell?
No, with Jalen, I'm expecting Jalen to play on Sunday. The question is just how compromised he is, and that's going to be the real big question. I mean, Jalen indicated
you think he's been affected by foreign governments?
How compromised he is by the injury is that a better way to frame it? Yeah, because look, Jalen was electric at the beginning of that game with that 41-yard run. You know, he joked after the game that Saquon was tired, so Saquon let him have a turn for once. But that was a big play, obviously by Jalen. But then you saw in the second half, after that knee injury, he was not the same. Couldn't move as well. He was walking gingerly. So there's enough time here for them to get him ready, and the team can put a game plan together. But yeah, if Jalen's compromised, then compromised with his health, I should say. That's a major. I think that's going to be the biggest topic going into this game. And then Quinyon Mitchell, he spoke to a few reporters after the game and indicated that he expects to play. But that's one where I wouldn't jump the gun on that yet. I think we need to see how Quinyon progresses this week.
Well, we're talking about Jalen Hurts. We've got somebody in the studio wearing a Jalen Hurts jersey. Fantastic. We've got a live studio audience. Very excited about that. You have more on Jalen Hurts of what he said about his performance, Zack. You did the writing, and then this morning you did a listening back to the things that you might have missed as it was happening in the moment, and there are some little nuggies that you wanted to share.
Well, no, this is across the locker room, and just to kind of give like full picture to the audience of what happens is that when you're in the locker room, especially a playoff game, there are so many people there. So oftentimes, if you're not in the front of a scrum, if you will, then you're sticking your recorder in or your phone in, but you don't actually get to listen back until you get back up to your computer. And because we come on the show right away, I don't listen through to everyone yet. So I'm jotting down notes that I hear for the show to come on post game. But the next day is really when you sort through 15 players and you get and you go through all the transcripts. And so with Jalen Hurts there, look, some of it was the philosophy of Jalen Hurts, Jalen being Socrates, enough is never enough. A performance today was enough to win. But he does recognize that the passing game must get better. He was talking about the challenge of the weather conditions, which by the way, AJ Brown said like you just gotta forget about this game from a passing game perspective, just because of now. I will also say Matthew Stafford had 300 plus yards, right? Like the third quarter was touch and go, but the Rams were passing the ball effectively at times. But Jalen kept talking about the complementary football as far as the pressure that he felt. He talked about rhythm, and he wasn't really able to get into the rhythm. He says rhythm doesn't mean quick passes, long passes. It's just finding the niche in what we do. So he needs to find better rhythm, and that's the word he's kind of gone with, really, since he came back from the concussion.
What else jumped out to you from the listening back? I know there was some love in the locker room for Isaiah Rodgers, which we did not maybe get into quite enough on the post-game show.
Yeah, Slade feels that that Rodgers could play anywhere, or like could start anywhere, I should say, and that he came to Philly to learn here, learn under Rodgers, or to learn under Slade. Now that might be a stretch, but there was a lot of love for the way Rodgers was able to fill in for Quinyon Mitchell. The scoop, it wasn't scoop and score situation, but scoop and run very close to the end zone situation, right? The heads up play that he has, the aggressiveness that he had. Now I do think he was picked on a bit, but with Rodgers, and we've seen this going back to minicamp. I remember watching minicamp next to you, and Rodgers is susceptible giving up big plays, but he's also aggressive in terms of making plays on the ball. He's more aggressive in that area than Keely Ringo. But Isaiah Rodgers, like he says, he's still caught up in the sauce here. But this is someone who a year ago was in his living room, wanting to get back in the league, and now here he is playing in the playoffs. There's a chance he could be starting in the NFC Championship game. We'll see there. But that was a few different corners of the locker room. There was a lot of praise for Isaiah Rodgers, and also like Darius Slay says, that's what this Eagles team is this year. Is that guys step in, there's no drop off, there's an expectation that the defense still performs.
Since it's just the two of us, I'm curious, is there anything that you've been wanting to get off your chest that you need to say about Fran?
About Fran? No, Fran's
I know. I mean, on our text thread, you talk smack about him all the time, but just if there's anything you wanted to share with the audience since he's not here.
No, honestly, the biggest piece of feedback that I've received and that I've read, and whenever I read comments and whatnot, is what Fran has added to the show. So Fran's been awesome, and what I tell everybody who asks is that if you think Fran's good in October and November, like just wait until you experience Fran in March and April when we have him for the draft.
Spring comes, clothes come off, you get to see those thighs.
Yeah, no, that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Oh, there's Fran the man. Yeah, so no, Fran's been. I'm not saying this because he's my colleague now. But like I'm being honest, what he's going to provide our draft coverage. I do think I thought last year we had the best draft coverage of any Philly media outlet. But now we get Fran, a preeminent national, draft analyst, to add. Well, I should say the headline our draft coverage, but to add to our Eagles coverage too of the draft, because Fran's providing the big picture draft, but then also as we on the PHLY Eagles show get into the Eagles stuff, Fran's gonna be huge with that. So no, I have nothing bad to say about Fran.
And speaking of which, I know there have been some people who asked. We had a bit of a false start on the PHLY draft show with Fran Duffy. That will be on our YouTube feed on Wednesday morning. So set your alarms for that bad boy. Because you're ready to get going.
Look through the mock draft. It'll be fun.
Yeah. But you're getting ready to go on the road this week.
Yeah. I leave Thursday morning, heading down to Dallas for the Shrine Bowl. And then so I'll be there from Thursday afternoon until Monday morning when I leave from Dallas to go to Mobile for the Senior Bowl.
That's why I got to get this extra family time in.
That's
absolutely.
Right. No, it's going to be a crazy couple weeks, but it'll be fun.
I'm jealous. That sounds so much fun. I'm jealous. And by the way, Wednesday is a perfect time to kick off the draft show because look, the national championship game's tonight, the Shrine Bowl's this weekend. So this week is the official transition from college football season to draft season.
I got an article up on allphly.com right now, by the way, previewing tonight's national championship game. So all the top prospects, upperclassmen, underclassmen, everybody in between. So if you want to know some of the names to watch for Ohio State and Notre Dame, you can go check that out on allphly.com.
Also, don't be modest. It's also on CHGO's website and DMVR's website and DLLS's website. And I got to work on DLLS and PHNX's website. So yeah, Fran's national right now.
All right, enough draft. This is an Eagles show. The Eagles are in the NFC Championship game.
Sure.
Let's talk ball after one of the most memorable games of franchise history, I would say, given the aesthetics and everything from yesterday. I want to talk about Saquon. Because we got to talk about Saquon. Let's start with you, Fran. I know you were able to buzz through it this morning.
Yep.
Anything that you saw that you didn't see live?
I think I have an idea as to what the exchange was about between Jalen and Saquon
on the second long touchdown run.
Yes, the 72-yarder. The 72-yarder.
78.
Yeah, 78-yarder. That's right. Julia, if we want to go to the first screen grab.
The guy comes with screen grabs? Grabby grabbies?
So this would be...
Grabby grabbies. Be careful what you say with the grabby grabbies.
Let's see. What did I name this one? I'm like all over the place.
The first time I've ever made Zack laugh.
Saquon long TD. Saquon long TD 1. All right. So obviously it's late in the game. We all saw we're watching on TV the zoomed in shot of Saquon and Jalen kind of exchanging looks, and you see Saquon mouth something to Jalen. Zack asked around, other reporters asked around after the game, and they said, "Oh well, I just want to make sure I was lined up on the right side." And you can see right here, Saquon is looking at Jalen. You can see he's got like kind of his palms up, and he's like, "Is this sure? Are we sure that this is what we want? Because this is going to be a run. Remember, to the offense's left side, so to our right side as we're looking to this here." And it's going to be a play called split zone, where you're going to have the tight end work from on our right side over to our left. So that's Saquon, or that's Dallas Goedert there, the MVP of the run game, on the far right of the formation for the Eagles. And he's going to work to the opposite side. If you look to that side, if Dallas leaves, that means you've got the center, Cam Jurgens, the left guard, Landon Dickerson, the left tackle, Jordan Mailata. Those three going up against 4 white jerseys for the LA Rams. So it's 3 versus 4. The numbers are not in the Eagles' favor. And so I think that Saquon is looking at Jalen like, all right, are we sure this is where I'm supposed to be? Because we're running now into a loaded box.
And as Zack told us, this is the play that Saquon called for, that he thought was going to work.
Yeah, the split zone, because that split zone typically will bring a defender over to the other side. If they're going to follow him in motion, the Rams had been playing a decent amount of man-to-man coverage, and so they thought, all right, if I'm going to play split zone, that's going to bring that linebacker number 56 with the long hair there, Christian Roseman, over to the other side. But he still had numbers over in that direction. So, Julie, if you go to the next shot here, at the snap, you can see Saquon. He goes immediately on a downhill track. Dallas Goedert has started working over to our left, but Roseman is staying put. And so now it is very important that Saquon, that defender is going to be unblocked, the play side linebacker, which you never want to leave unblocked in a run play. That's going to be up to Saquon to make him miss. And you can see, again, Saquon has a very downhill track on this play, and he starts to insert vertically. He's trying to push vertically up the field to suck those defenders up. And then, Julia, if you go to the next shot, this is where the jump cut from Saquon Barkley comes into play. He puts his foot in the ground and he jump cuts over to his left and goes in between the left guard, Landon Dickerson, the left tackle, Jordan Mailata, and then he's off to the races from that point on. So it's a great job.
And Jalen Hurts like calls for it right away.
Immediately, See,
right?
He knows because there's nobody else out there. Jared Verse he snuck back inside, so he was kind of taken out of the play. You had a great block from Mailata on the defensive tackle on that side, Bobby Brown. And because Saquon did such a great job, it's called pressing the hole, pressing the line of scrimmage. He pressed it. That sucked the linebacker up. One jump cut later, and it's 78 yards to the house.
I was thinking about this from the explosiveness of the running game with Saquon. Do you think from Stoutland's perspective as the run game coordinator, knowing that, there's this balance of if the defense is going to load the box, then there's, you have probably a better chance if you break that initial line for an explosive play. Do you think you call things differently knowing that you have this explosive potential, or is it just sort of you call the play, you call sort of what you would normally call?
I think that you still, I think that you still want to stay, smart in terms of understanding, like, all right, like box numbers working in our favor versus not in our favor. Right. And Jeff Stoutland is worried solely about the run game, right? So now it's up to Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore to say, like, all right, like if they are starting to load the box, then we got to take advantage of those one-on-ones on the outside. But I think if you're Stoutland, like I think the way that most coaches look at it, you can run against any look. A lot of coaches will say, like, all right, like, if you want to load the box, especially if you've got a quarterback in Jalen Hurts that is that running threat, we got ways to be able to negate that. It's all angles and geometry. I know Jason Kelsey's talked about that in the past as well.
Are there runs that, like, if I'm thinking about it like the passing game, where there are, there are like success rate plays where you're just trying to get 7 yards on first down, and then there are some deep shots downfield. Are there runs that are more likely to pop versus runs that are more likely to get you 5 yards?
Yeah, I would say that there are more runs that are like high variance in that it's like you could take a loss here versus, like duo is seen as a play that's like you're not going to take a lot of negatives running duo, right? And that's why, like, the Rams, I've said that about Kyron Williams. They don't take a lot of negative runs. It's a pretty high success rate type of run game. They are one of the teams that major in duo in football.
That's why they call it a duo. It says we won't need a do-over.
Right. That's exactly why they call it that. But yeah,
or the two people blocking. Yeah.
But I think when you look at Saquon and you look at the offensive line, they're going to look at like every play. Like, we could score on any of these, and so that's it's a little bit tricky to answer.
What do you have extra on Saquon, Zach? You wrote the story on allphly.com about this is why he chose to come to the Eagles to chase greatness. You worked in the Delamitros angle. We appreciate that. What more do you have on the cutting room floor?
Yeah, well, first off, to what you guys were just discussing, that's the exact point Saquon made on Friday regarding stacking the box. Now, I don't know if that specific play would qualify as stacking the box, although you like you said, the linebacker was drawn up there. But Saquon's point is he says it can be a beautiful thing because once you get past the line, it allows for home run plays. It allows for home run runs. So it's one of those feast or famine type things where it could be a 2-yard loss, but it could be a 78-yard touchdown. And so Saquon, I don't want to say he called a shot, but he specifically said that regarding like how the Rams were going to try to stop him. He said that on Friday. Now, as far as Saquon's comments yesterday, we mentioned the Greg D angle of it. We spoke yesterday about Steve Van Buren. For those who didn't catch the postgame show, I hope you did. But Saquon Barkley looked up this week the franchise's all-time rushing record in the postseason, and it was Steve Van Buren, 195. And I thought it was interesting symmetry here because when you think of Steve Van Buren in Eagles history, what's the most iconic game in Steve Van Buren's time as an Eagle?
Well, I know the answer. I read your story, but
okay.
It's the championship game in the snow.
Yeah. So 1948, the year before, this was like this is Eagles lore. A matter of fact, there's a book behind me here. It's the Football 100. It's the Athletic Football 100. Bo has an outstanding story in there on Reggie White and Chuck Bednarik.
I was going to say he's throwing my Bednarik story under the bus.
No, yeah, but I have a piece in there on Steve Van Buren, so I know this quite well. And so Steve Van Buren lived in Drexel Hill at the time, okay, and wakes up one morning. Probably wasn't a morning like today because the snow had stopped. It was like if you had woken up at 6 o'clock yesterday, and looks out his window, and it's a complete blizzard. It's a whiteout, and he believes that the game's going to be canceled. Okay. And so he goes back to sleep, and then Greasy Neal calls him and says, Steve, where are you?
Unbelievable. The streak continues for Greasy Neal.
But he couldn't.
It's now 9 weeks in a row.
He couldn't shovel. He couldn't shovel his car out of the driveway in Drexel Hill. So he took the L train to City Hall. he connects to the subway, takes that up to I guess that would be Lehigh Avenue for where Connie Mack Stadium is, and then he runs through the snow. So I thought it was interesting parallel. You have Steve Van Buren breaking Steve Van Buren's record. You have LaShawn McCoy, who he spoke to this weekend to prepare for the snow game. These are probably the three most famous snow games in Eagles history, and there's like a link to all of them in this. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was so you might have seen on the first Saquon touchdown, him and Jared Verse were talking, and he said he actually wasn't talking trash to Jared Verse there, but he was talking trash earlier in the game, and he said he got called to the principal's office. That he said he got in trouble for talking then, so he wasn't talking on that Jared Verse play.
By the refs or by Sirianni?
By the refs.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah. He thought that the Rams were tackling like some dirty tackling around the time that Jalen got hurt. I don't know if that's something that came up on film. He noted that. He acknowledged that the Commanders were a team that were like excited to see them last time, right? Wanted to see them, or that they wanted to see the Commanders again. So he's eager for that matchup. But yeah, he said this is why he came to Philly for games like this. And interestingly, my friend Jordan Renan from ESPN reported that Daniel Jones and Sterling Shepard were his guests at the game yesterday. So
that is
it's just
so
like rubbing
crazy.
it in. Yeah.
That's wild to me. I was thinking about this last night and this morning. You know, I was looking at the Saquon stats, and I put it out on Bluesky. But so over the course of his career, games in which Saquon Barkley has had 150 yards from scrimmage, he had 7 over the course of his time with the Giants. He's had 8 this season, including the playoffs. So like that tells you just how freed he has been by being on this team. And it's a little bit like it's beautiful and it's a little bit sad because like if Saquon Barkley stays with the Giants, we never get to see him like this. It's like it's like a Kentucky Derby quality racehorse just, being stuck in the what is it called? The stables, he's never had the chance to run free like this. Yeah. And then you start to think about, geez, like how many other people in the NFL is this true for? Where like if they would just get stuck in a bad situation and you don't get to see the full potential that they have, and that could be a guy who's great to superstar, it could be a guy who's good to great, it could be a guy who never gets to see the field, and if he just got to see the field, he would get to show his stuff. And then you start to think about the parallels with life and just like the privilege of it all. And so Saquon Barkley is like he's making me think existentially. He's a legend. He's been so good this season that he's sending me down a wormhole of both depression and beauty.
Man, I did not expect it to go that way.
I thought it sounds like he's making you happier. He's making you more. Is it depression or happiness?
It's both, like everything.
Yeah. Well, I can say this. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I was speaking to a few Giants reporters who were at the game, and they went up to Saquon afterwards and were chatting with him. And one thing they said to him is like, "You look so happy." Right, you look so much like you just have like a smile about you, like a vibrancy about you. It shows you like what happiness at the workplace can do for your entire being, I suppose, right?
Yeah, but it's also it's beyond. I think it's beyond the workplace itself. It's like to be somewhere where you are able to be your full self and reach your own potential, right? It's he probably thought that he had this in him, but never got a chance to prove it to himself that he could be this good. And now he's 148 yards away from setting the NFL record for most rushing yards in a season.
God, now you're going to have me reflecting tonight.
I mean, for you, how is that any different than any other night?
Yeah. But yeah, so those are some of the Saquon takeaways there.
I remember having this conversation once with a Q&A with Joe Banner, who, by the way, we should just take a second to thank Joe Banner because he hired me, he hired Fran, he hired you at one point as an intern, Zack, and so we need to acknowledge that. But the idea of like taking away.
Joe's done a great job. I agree with that.
Would a player succeed anywhere, right? Disentangling that. And he was of the opinion that he thought that was overstated. Like if you're in a bad organization, you can still be the player that you should be. And to me, this is a very good example of why that's not necessarily true. And it's not to say that everybody's like that. There's not everybody is Sam Darnold, who goes from terrible to starting caliber, or Geno Smith or whatever. But like there are a lot of people whose NFL careers are not what they should be because of the situations that they're in.
I feel like the fact that Dylan McMahon's season ended yesterday and you're feeling this way, you're probably connected.
So this comes up.
I mean, also the fact that if Dylan McMahon was playing right guard on the second to last snap of the game, the Rams win.
So this is something I've thought about a lot, and this is going to come up with Fran quite a bit in the next few months, because you hear this in the draft, like how much the player's environment matters. And so I might have a more nuanced.
A commenter brings up Zack Baun, which is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I might have a more nuanced view on this than Joe Banner did, because look, some players I believe are so transcendent that it doesn't matter where they end up. LeBron James could have been drafted to any organization, and they would have been transcendent. Like to me, Peyton Manning could have gone anywhere, and he would have changed that franchise. But I do think for the vast majority of players and people, the environment matters so much. The opportunity you have, the people you have the opportunity to do it with. So I think in football that's especially the case, and that there's a reason why I spoke about this on the All NFL show today, that like to me there's a reason why some players just go to organizations and they falter, because the infrastructure isn't there, the culture isn't there for them to succeed. And some people need to be boosted. Some people can lift the temperature, but some people need to be boosted.
All right. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, and Jalen Carter as well, on the other side of this quick break here on the PHLY Philosophy Podcast. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, and they live stream over 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Big game tonight. We know who Fran's rooting for. The mighty Irish, of course. If you want to back that side, you might want to do it. You
Rooting's
should do
a
it.
Strong word.
At Bet365, where new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on a spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It sounded like Daniel Day-Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Gangs of New
Gangs
York.
of New York. Yeah.
Thank you. I agree that I am on par with Daniel Day-Lewis,
You're
among
right.
the greatest actors of this generation.
You're right there. You're right there with them. I want to talk about our friends at HelloFresh, and I'm not going to do any silly accents with mine. But HelloFresh, look, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. I can tell you, when I get home from the studio today, ours is going to be waiting for me. This week's box is going to be sitting there waiting for me at the doorstep. I made one on Saturday. Roasted poblano pepper tacos.
Oh.
It's like a little turkey meat in there. It was a perfect lunch. Loved it. That was on Saturday. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what we've got in store because Meg typically orders decides what we're going to be eating. And it's going to be 3 great meals that will be at my door when I get home here this afternoon. It's easy to find the time to eat well with 50 wholesome, hassle-free meals to choose from each week. And again, delivered right to your door. Their lineup of prep and bake meals come together together with minimal mess and only 5 minutes of prep. So your oven does most of the work, not you. Those 15-minute meals, they're done in just 3 simple steps. And that's the thing, is that some of them, it's like, you know what? I just got to throw everything in a tray, mix it all up, throw it in the oven, set and forget. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Others, if you want to actually cook a little bit, you've got your intermediate meals where it's 4 or 5 steps. Then you've got another step where it's a little bit more difficult. And I love mixing in a little bit of all 3. It's outstanding. HelloFresh could not speak higher of that company and of that product. Get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/PHLY. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied at a discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/PHLY or /Eagles10FM.
All right, Zach. Before we let you go, give us let's turn the page to Jalen Carter, and if there's anything you want to add.
Wait, can I just give one comment here? I probably shouldn't even go down this rabbit hole.
No.
But Fran just did an outstanding ad read. And I once spoke about HelloFresh earlier this year, and in the ad read, I mentioned how Emily plans our dinners, and then that got followed up with a whole thing about like gender roles and how I don't think I can control.
He's gonna hit you with this right now.
So like,
honestly,
Fran
Zach, I thought about
no,
it. I thought about it, but I'm not going to do it in front of the kid.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, all right. I was just thinking. I was like, I once got that was like an 8-minute deviation in the show when I.
But I also know that Fran does some cooking.
For the record, I do all of the cooking.
Okay.
Meg does the picking of the meals. I do all of the cooking of the meals.
Anti-Parcells here. This is if you're gonna do the cooking, you got to pick out the groceries.
Wow, it's
just a shout out to HelloFresh. The oven does the cooking, right? All you have to do is put the ingredients in. The oven does all the work, right? That's what the ad says.
Yes. And of course, that's why you don't feel like Emily's pulling her weight around the house, because she's not doing the cooking; it's the oven doing the work.
Did not say that at all. I am so lucky.
What you didn't do anything. That's the stove making the fire.
Anyways, Jalen Carter. Speaking about someone who's proud of someone they're with here. So the scene that I described, I didn't have the full description here because I actually didn't hear Jalen Carter's reaction. I heard Howie. What's that?
I said, "Bless you, Julia."
Okay.
By the way, what a star-making performance from Julia on the PHLY social channels yesterday.
Oh man, unbelievable!
I mean, her reactions to all of those big plays in the Eagles game. Yeah. She was a one-man Lincoln Financial Field, one-woman Lincoln Financial Field.
The audio on all of them, I think, just from screaming.
Oh my gosh,
that is awesome. Yeah, but our social channels are have some great stuff on them. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, Blue Sky. I think TikTok's back now. So TikTok, there was a period where it wasn't there, but it is back now, I believe. But yeah, wherever you find your social media, check out PHLY Sports. Anyways, so I described the scene of Howie Roseman saying, "Do I need to take a picture of you? I'm so proud of you." I didn't hear Jalen Carter's reaction to that until I listened back, which was Jalen Carter's reaction was, "We need this for the Hall of Fame." I don't know if this is an inside joke between Jalen Carter and Howie Roseman. I thought it was an interesting response. And as he was saying it, and because I have this in my mind's eye, Brian Dawkins was a few steps away, right? Fletcher Cox, I said hello to Fletcher, our former colleague. He was in the building yesterday. So to me, there was like this interesting parallel, this passing of the baton, if you will, from the best player of the 2010s on the Eagles defenses, or the best player of the 2000s, to the best player of the 2010s, to the best defensive player of the 2020s. They're all there. And yesterday you saw that from Jalen Carter. I thought the reaction, so there's a piece up on allphly.com right now. I thought like Jalen Carter was a little understated in some of his descriptions, although he did describe
the Josh Sweat line is so good.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
For the 2 plays at the end, he said he used a fillet, which is like a slice move. Yeah, he said he filleted toward the center. I had not heard it used or described that way, but apparently that's I'm aware of that, but as a pass rusher. But here you go. So Josh Sweat said it was only a matter of time before he was going to kill that right guard. No disrespect to the right guard. He said, yes, he said, so Zach Baun said, oh my gosh, that dude is just a monster, the best in the league. Saquon Barkley said, JC is so special, man. He might be, I ain't trying to put too much on him right now, but going against him and now being on the same side and talking to him on the sideline, looking him in the eye, and he said he would make a play. He's one of one. But I do just want to make this point out here is that we heard a lot going into the season. I spoke to Clint Hurd about this, about the conditioning being so important.
It's crazy.
And Nick Sirianni brought this up. He played 69 of 71 plays, and two of the most impactful plays were play 68 and play 69. That should not be dismissed. And then the other thing is the peanut punch that he had there. He made the same play against the Rams the last time he played against them. He said that's something that they drill every single week in practice. He thought going into the game there was going to be an opportunity to do that against Kyren Williams.
He had another attempt. It was like, I think Williams' first long run of the day. I think went for like 16 yards, second drive. And you could see Jalen Carter retrace and come from behind, and he tried to go for it there too. He tries like 2 or 3 a game, Jalen. Whenever he gets a shot, he's going to try that peanut punch.
And it goes to the thing we've talked about and like how smart he is as a player. Like even going for the spikes and stuff like that. He really understands everything that's happening on the field, and the violence of that punch. The Hall of Fame talk, it's good that he's the only guy I can think of who wouldn't have to be worried and scared if David Baker showed up at his door.
I don't think David Baker does that anymore, to be honest with you. So now they actually have
more of a
former teammates.
I think he's still doing it. It's just not for the Hall of Fame. He's just showing up at people's doors.
And knocking on their doors. Yeah, no, I'm not.
I have, by the way, Grim Reaper.
I probably shouldn't say this out loud. I do have his number, and I can only imagine, like, if I called him up and I said, I sent him your
hotel rooms, banging on doors.
I sent him your address, and one day you're sitting at home, you're cooking your dinner, you're watching some French movie with we are watching some French movie with transliterations below it at home, and you get a knock on your door and you open it, and there he is. So be careful what you wish for, Bo. Congratulations, you are the best host in the city from all the people before you and all the people in the game of football. Yes.
All right, Zach.
All right. I want Fran to get to his screen grab, so I won't monopolize this time. I appreciate it. I'm excited for the week ahead. Nick Sirianni at 3:15. I'll have any updates available on our social channels. 2 articles up on allphly.com, and we have about 6 shows coming this week, so make sure you check that out.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, Zach. Zach's going to be on tomorrow. We got a bit of a change to the schedule this week. Zach is going to be on tomorrow with Jamie and Rich. That'll be fun. You and me on Wednesday, Fran. We're going to do Swooper on Wednesday. And then Thursday, me and Zach. And Friday, me and the Professor. And another bonus show this week, Wednesday night in prime time. We're figuring out exactly what that's going to look like. It might be the Josh Harris special. So I'm looking forward to that.
Tune in for 60 minutes of Bo just staring at the camera with your face.
Thank you very much, Zach.
And make sure you like and comment, please. Thank you.
Like and comment, become a diehard, and all that good stuff. All right, let's let's get this other ad read out of the way, and then we can dive into the screen grabs and get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
If you are looking to get out of Dodge, let's say you're worried about somebody knocking at your door. Well, you don't want to go too far. You can go to Valley Forge, have a little bit of a getaway, a weekend getaway. And the place to do it is Valley Forge, where there is family-friendly affordability in Valley Forge and Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Valley Forge and Montgomery County have so much to offer, like must-see historical sites, tons of family attractions, a vibrant art scene, outdoor activities, shopping, and more. It's just 18 miles from downtown Philadelphia. Just a stone's throw from American history. That's what it's all about. ValleyForge.org can help you discover hidden gems, endless activities, and tons of places to stay in Montco. Get started planning that next getaway today at ValleyForge.org. Make it family time and make it Montco.
Let's now hear from our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union, because let's say you just spent a lot of money on a big purchase. Say you were worried about people at your door. You got a big home security system. Or you did all of that shopping for that home security system, and it left you with a credit card balance that's weighing you down. Now, think about this. What if you could pay off that home security system faster with no interest until 2026? Well, now you can. Because of TrueMark Financial, they are now offering 0 interest on balance transfers for 12 months. So all of your payments can go towards reducing your balance, not just covering your interest. So here's the play. Transfer your existing balance from another institution to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of this amazing offer. But hurry, you've got to do it by February 28th, 2025. Whether you're interested in earning rewards, getting cash back, or if you simply just prefer a low rate for everyday purchases, with TrueMark Financial, you can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. Visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fee applies. Standard rates apply after the promotional rate.
All right. You buzzed through?
Buzzed through.
You got your grabbies?
You got the screen grabs.
What do you want to talk about?
Let's do the Jalen Carter stuff first,
Okay.
because I thought he was obviously he was awesome.
Unbelievable.
And just being able to see some of the nuances and some of the things that he did, I thought were really, really impressive. Julia, let's go to Carter stunt 1. So this is the first sack. It happened. It was first quarter, second drive of the game, and right before the snap, you can see that Jalen takes a little peek over at Nolan Smith, and he gives him he pats the back of his head and looks at him. And what I think he's doing there is saying, me, which that's typically what it. So let me backtrack a little bit. You can see Jalen Carter kind of motioning to Smith there, and he's giving him that motion. In a lot of schemes, defensive tackles are given the ability to call a stunt. It's not necessarily called from the sideline or from the booth, but a defensive lineman, namely a defensive tackle, can call a stunt because those guys are close to the center. They can get a bead on which way the center is going to slide. You want to run stunts on the man side of the protection, the man-to-man side, so away from wherever the center is sliding. Because if the center is sliding one way, that means it's 3 versus 2 on that side. And so once Jalen Carter gets a bead that, you know what, the center is going to be sliding to their left, it's going to be 2 versus 2. He calls for the stunt with him and Nolan Smith. So, Julie, if you go to the next shot, you can see, all right, Bo Limmer, he's going to slide over to the left. That's going to create that 2-on-2. And then, Julie, if you go to the next shot, now that's what he's going to have is you're going to get Nolan Smith. He's going to come inside and pick off the right guard. And then Jalen Carter is going to loop around. And it's basically just a pick and roll is the best way I can explain it. It's an ET stunt. Julie, you can go to the last one. Jalen Carter loops around, and he gets home for the sack of Matthew Stafford. So, we talk about
Havenstein had a rough one.
He had a rough one after his numbers over the last several weeks have been very good. Guys were getting after him in this game. And honestly, I feel like Vic Fangio and the defense, they went in here thinking, okay, we are just better. We talked about how the talent for the offense is just better than the defense. I think the Eagles went into this saying our talent is better than your talent up front and on the back end, because they were fine playing a ton of man-to-man coverage. We talked. Daniz brought that up on Thursday's show about, hey, the Eagles played a lot of man-to-man. Do you think that's something that they could do? I wasn't sure if they were going to do it. They played a ton of man in this game. I didn't look at the final numbers, the final count. I'm sure it's something Daniz will talk about this week as well. But they played a ton of man coverage. They blitzed more than we typically see from them. And to me, that all those pressure looks with 5 and 6 guys up on the line of scrimmage, that was saying, we're going to force you guys to block us one-on-one, and our guys are better than you guys. One of our defensive linemen is going to win. More often than not, they were able to pressure Matthew Stafford.
True Media has them playing man 33% of the time in this game, which was their 4th highest rate of the season.
Yep.
It was their 5th highest blitz rate game of the season. And when they did blitz, It was their highest success rate of the season.
Okay.
But it did feel like that was weather dependent. They weren't blitzing a ton early.
Right. Yep.
And then in that middle portion of the game when it was really nasty, that's when they started to send a lot of heat.
Yeah, I think that at that point they said, okay, we are going to force Matthew Stafford to basically like get rid of this ball fast, not let these guys try and create separation. But even like just looking across, there were a number of these sacks, like Moro Ojomo sack, Nolan Smith sack, where they're playing, it's a 5 or 6 man defensive line, including, you bring those linebackers up on the line of scrimmage, 5 or 6 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and it's just straight man-to-man. And the Eagles said, yeah, we're good with this. And even with Quinyon Mitchell out of the lineup, they said, all right, Isaiah Rodgers one-on-one with Puka Nacua or with Cooper Kupp, like, let's roll. And they clearly were up for the challenge from that standpoint.
What else on Jalen Carter? As we celebrate him.
Yeah, Julia, if you want to go to Carter end of game, I mentioned also that the Eagles ran 11 stunts in this game. Now, that was something we talked about before the Week 12 matchup. That the Rams had really struggled with stunts, picking up stunts. A lot of the sacks and the pressures that they gave up to Matthew Stafford were off of those D-line twists in games. So
they've had a lot of moving parts.
Yes,
right.
There was a bunch of guys in and out of the lineup, and so teams were constantly peppering them with stunts. The Eagles, in that game back in Week 12, they ran 12 stunts. That was their season high. They ran 11 in yesterday's game, so just one shy of that. But they went into the saying, we're going to play a lot of games against this front. This is the Moro Ojomo sack, where it's a TT stunt, where you're going to get Jalen Carter working up the field. Ojomo loops inside, and he's there to take Matthew Stafford down. So they ran a lot of these TT stunts. TT is tackle and tackle. ET is end and tackle, TE, tackle and end. So it's just the shorthand for that. So the Eagles ran a handful of these TT stunts. And why this is important for the end of the game is that Jalen Carter prayed on the center, Bo Limmer, and said, okay, well, he knows we've run a bunch of TT stunts. I'm going to mess with him here. So, Julie, if you go to the next shot, this is the 3rd down sack the final drive. So the Rams are sliding this way. Bo Limmer is sliding towards Jalen Carter. I just said in that the earlier sack that typically, when you are sliding in one direction, you don't want to run stunts that way because it's 3 versus 2. Well, Jalen Carter said, all right, well, we're not running a stunt, but I'm going to make the center think that I'm running a stunt. So he is going to start working Jalen Carter towards the center and attacking his inside shoulder. So, Julie, if you go to the next shot, he actually starts crossing his face, gets his eyes over that way and selling, I'm going to be pinning over the other side, and someone is going to be looping behind me. And look at the center. You can see the center's eyes. It's a little bit covered up by my arrow there, but you can see his eyes are starting to look to his left. And as soon as Bo Limmer takes his hands off of Carter, Julie, if you go to the next shot, Carter just kind of shoves him aside, and then he jets upfield,
that right guard,
and he gets home for the sack.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, the right guard, he's sliding to his right. So it's a full slide. That he's not even looking at Jalen Carter. It became a one-on-one. So then you go to the next play. So that's the very next snap. So now it's 4th down, and it's the same idea. They're sliding in Jalen Carter's direction. Jalen Carter's going to try and attack the inside shoulder of the center. He gets his eyes going back over to Ojoma's side. And Julie, if you go to the next shot, you can see Limmer's got his right hand on Carter, and he's got his eyes looking to his left. He's not looking at Carter. He's looking at Ojoma because Carter is selling hard that it's going to be a stunt. And then Carter just does it again. He does it. So they'll go to the last shot here, Julia. He disengages from the center and wins outside, and he's able to get to Matthew Stafford and force an incompletion. Just awesome.
It's crazy how much can happen in those 2 seconds,
right?
And the processing. It's awesome.
And it's one of those things I know guys will be like, all right, I'm going to do this, but I have to save it for the right moment.
Right.
I know BG has talked about that in the past. I've heard Chris Long talk about that in the past. When you know that you're gonna save this one move, maybe it's a speed to power rush. Where this is going to use, and I have to save it for the right moment. And so Jalen Carter had it and saved it for crunch time, and it worked for in a big way those final 2 plays.
We have the referee assignment for the game on Sunday.
Okay, what do we got?
You want to take a guess?
No.
Sean Hockley. Sean
Nice.
Hockley getting the game.
Beautiful.
3:00 at the link. All right. Anything else on Jalen Carter? It's
awesome.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we talked.
And it's crazy that, and I said in the postgame show, but to me, this game really was a victory for the roster.
Yeah.
Because this game that was so close, played in this narrow band. They won because they had the 2 super duper stars in the game.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter. And They don't win this game if they don't have they like that is how they won the game.
Yeah, and I think the thing too that we talked about yesterday was you have that play from your A players.
Mm-hmm.
You had a handful of your B players.
Are we back? Can you hear us? Scoopy, Scoopy.
I think Kev Brady's on something.
Grabby, grabby. Oh, I think we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
All right. We were talking about Oren Burks.
Oren Burks. So the Eagles were playing a lot of man-to-man coverage. I think that the Rams started calling some of those man coverage beaters. And so one of those ways to beat man-to-man coverage, a basic slant route, especially if you're going to blitz and the middle of the field's open. So you had everybody up on the line of scrimmage. Burks did a great job. And Collinsworth pointed this out in the broadcast, saying he's inserting as a blitzer. Once he realizes he's not going to get there and the ball's coming out, he does a great job of falling off, getting his hands up into the passing lane and knocking that down. If he doesn't do that, that's going to be a likely catch for a first down. But just a great play on third down from Oren Burks.
Are there any grabbies that you want to get off your chest or your eyes?
From that play or from any other play?
Any other play?
Yeah, I think. I mean, look, I pulled some of the sacks. I think the sacks were a mix of factors.
Okay.
I think when you look at, bless you, Julia. When you look at some of them, I would say like Jalen Hurts has to get the ball out. There were some where like the protection scheme was a little wonky. Where guys, there was the one where Kenny Gainwell and Becton, like neither of them took the linebacker that came. That was the Omar.
That was the
sack.
first end of the first half one.
Yep.
Right.
And then there were others where like the safety, I think they just got beat by the scheme. I think that people are pointed out like Dallas Goedert is there. He should have thrown the check down. I think that happened too fast.
On the safety?
Yes, on the safety.
I feel like that one.
That one, to me, when I watched that one back, I was a little bit less accusatory of Jalen being at fault on that one.
Okay.
To me, like I felt like that one, there were 3 vertical routes on that play. Like he's waiting for that stuff to develop. Now you could say like, oh, he should have gotten to the check down a little sooner.
He knows he's in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean that would be the only. But to me, like I hated more to me I would put more on the design there and the call as opposed to Jalen's execution.
Yeah, of course it's not all on Jalen.
Yep.
It was his highest rate of negative plays per dropback in a game this season. So that's sacks, fumbles, interceptions.
Yep.
He's been towards the bottom. He's the lowest rated good quarterback across the league. He's like fourth from the bottom, but the rest are like really bad quarterbacks because he takes a lot of sacks.
Yeah,
and they're not all on him. That's not to say that they can't win this way. Obviously, they did win this way. He also deserves credit for for instance, the first Saquon Barkley touchdown. Like he calls that right. He adjusts to that call.
Yep.
So we got to give him some credit.
I think where I'm at is that there's 2 games left.
Exactly.
I think that's where I'm at.
We have now gotten to the point where it doesn't really matter if you played 17 games, where would they rank?
Yes.
It's like you just got to go win 2 games.
And it comes down to, we made the analogy, and at the time everyone was like, oh, it's too soon, Fran. It's too soon, Fran. But it was like you're the baseball team that just lives on the long ball, and it's a bunch of home runs, and that's the way. Look, this is a team that they have to thread the needles too strong of a term because it's a replicable formula.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing great defense. They're running the ball extremely well, and as long as they have positive game script, that formula will work for them. And it's then a matter of if they're not in that game script, will they be able to win in a different way? All signs point to them still being able to play within that game script. And as long as they're able to do that, this should be a winning formula for them.
Yeah. And then you spend the offseason figuring out how to fix what's broken with the passing game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fine. I mean,
it's
like what they have.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't think we're at a point now where, like things are definitely going to change. I say this.
What about with AJ? Now,
I think
the conditions yesterday.
Yeah.
What did you think of AJ on film?
So he had 2 drops, I think, in the day, and people were saying, "Oh, the drops." I mentioned the one stat I don't even think I said it on the show. I think you and I just talked about it as I found the stat last week in the office. But the Rams had 6 drops all year. They had 3 in the game yesterday. So obviously, I think the conditions had something to do with it. And some of those drops, 2 of them were on third down. They were killer drops.
Bad Puka one,
yeah. So I when you look at, I think the conditions probably played into that a little bit, and the injury too with AJ. It's been 2 weeks in a row where he's had just a handful of catches. So I think that's certainly an issue. But I think that's just kind of where I'm at with the pass game. But that said, I didn't feel great about the pass game in January of 2018 after the Eagles won the divisional round against Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then Nick Foles goes on an absolute heater for 2 games. That's entirely possible. But that's a big ask.
Okay. I don't want to make your grabby work go to waste. So if there's anything else,
I mean, I'll be able to use it elsewhere, so it's all good.
Okay.
I know we've got
some other stuff to do.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay. Early feelings about the Commanders?
I just feel like the Eagles have more talent right now.
Yeah.
So I think that when you look at this Eagles team going up against Washington, certainly Jayden Daniels. I mean, stop me if you've heard this before. They've got a defense that can create problems for your passing game. They've got an offense where the quarterback can create and be dangerous with the ball. I mean, we said this in the playoffs where whether it was Jordan Love to Matthew Stafford and then that Rams defense, that Packers defense, hey, they do some things that can give your pass game trouble. But this Eagles offense should be able to run the ball at will, against that group. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs looked like he was, the best running back on the planet, and he's one of the best. But I think when you look at what he was doing against that Washington defense throughout the majority of that game, up until they got down 2 scores and the run game kind of got out of it, but that speaks to the game script. If the Eagles are able to stay in that positive game script and keep Saquon Barkley in the game, I feel really good about the outcome.
Now, just to close the book on a couple of things we talked about heading into this game. I mean, okay. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. did not play in this game. It was all Oren Burks. You said that you think he held up well.
He was fine. Yeah. I think that it wasn't all pretty, but there were some plays. The thing is like so many of the plays were like about any play on either side. You chalk it up to the conditions, and you're saying it's tough from that standpoint to really say like, oh man, this guy was terrible, because if a guy slipped because the footing wasn't great, you chalk it up.
We thank you for watching on Fast. If that is where you're watching the show, to catch the rest of it, you can go to allphly.com. Dallas Goedert has been some people think he should be the MVP of the league, but he's been a nice little addition to the offense over the past couple of weeks.
31-yarder on it was a man-to-man coverage, and his guy fell at the top of the route, so he's wide open over the middle. Jalen hits him in stride, and he goes for a big play on 3rd down. The Eagles don't score on that drive. That was one that got held up by some sacks, and I think a penalty knocked them back, and they were forced to punt, if memory serves. Some big plays there. They went to him early on in the game, a couple play action boot targets. So a factor certainly underneath and in the intermediate area.
Led the team with 456 as a receiver. And then anything else as you rewatched it on the sort of the game management front?
Yeah, those are always tough when I'm going through on film, because I'm not always taking into account I feel like that comes through better on the broadcast.
Okay.
Unless I'm making it a point to all right, this in this situation, but this morning I was not doing that. So
okay. All right. That's all we got for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. We are going to have all kinds of stuff coming your way this week. We've got another show tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 2 o'clock, Wednesday prime time, an extra show, maybe some special guests. And then, if the Eagles take care of business on Sunday, we got all kinds of stuff coming your way as we head down to Nolans. Get you fully covered as the Eagles try to make it happen. 2 games left. All right. Thank you to Julia. Thank you to Zack. Thank you to Fran. We will talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
Oh, we didn't do super. We all silly like the mayor.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
False start.
You know what? We're going to give you a little freebie here because we had that little pause in the show. We forgot about the super chats. Grace.
Oh, they went away on the
other
restart.
super chats from the first part of the stream are no longer here. Grace, we appreciate the shout out. Thank you so much. The other ones, I wonder if it's possible for me to go back in the. Let's see here. CDP.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, there
says now that the Eagles have ended Sean Desai's season, have the 2023 demons been exercised, or is the job not done until Brian Johnson is in Cabo? There's no doubt that if we're thinking that way, that Brian Johnson is a factor here.
He's done an outstanding job with Jayden Daniels this year, and I've mentioned at the very jump, getting ready for Washington that first week, that offense reminded me a little bit more of a Brian Johnson Florida Gators offense than it did of a Cliff Kingsbury Arizona Cardinals offense, and he's done a remarkable job with Jayden so far this year.
I think we had others, but that's the only.
That's
you got
it. I see. Oh.
Julia. Julia. Julia.
Chant, Francis. Julia.
Julia. Julia. Julia. Julia. I feel at home. With the Pikachu is making me feel very at home.
Here we go.
Okay.
How many play action
Shay
passes?
says, how many play action passes did we have?
Let's look it up.
All right. So you can get there first.
Yeah, all right, it's good. It's good.
Let's get the better internet. Teams. Offense.
Oh, my internet's
Playoffs. Playoffs.
kidding me.
Team.
Oh,
Eagles.
go ahead. Beat me.
Game.
No Bean update from Shay though, unfortunately.
I mean, come on, man. All right, let's see here. Offensive plays. Play action. Da, 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 da.
Oh, Shay, this is a big one for Sicko Swooper. Did you know that there's a Sicko Swooper?
No, I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh, there's a whole. Come on, Bo. I thought you were a man of the people.
I'm not in that. I'm not in that Discord. The Eagles in this game had 6 snaps of play action, which is towards the very bottom of them for a season. And best was a gain of 14 yards on the completion to Dallas Goedert.
The first play.
What was the question for? Oh, that was the question for Swooper?
That was for yes. That was
Sicko Swooper?
correct.
Okay. All right. What else you got, Julia? Oh, look at this. Saw something about Saquon referencing Marshall Faulk and intentionally not hitting the big hole or home run early in the game to set it up for later. Your thoughts from N? Very similar to the thing you said about Jalen Carter. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I've never talked to a running back that does that or that has said that. I'd be interested to go back and read that quote from Saquon about Faulk and honestly hear Faulk talking about it because I've not heard that from
how great is it that Chris Long and Marshall Faulk, these longtime Rams, are rooting for the Eagles and not the Rams?
Well, this goes back to your earlier existential point.
Yes, and it's an important thing to thumb your nose at an owner every now and then.
Well, like Chris Long has talked about this numerous times, like even just like this season on the podcast, like, and talking about like he knows what it's like. I think he's like talking about like Myles Garrett with the Browns.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what it's like to like be a really good player on a really bad team for a really bad organization and like what like the trials and tribulations you go through like personally when you're in that role. It's tough. Yeah,
because you still have to you still want to set the example and be a good soldier and bring everybody up with you. But yeah, like you see Saquon out there and you're like, man, what if I could be on a team like that? Get to be my full self, run free.
Shay won off that not a play action. So congrats to Shay.
By the way, the Jalen pass yards and the comments, it's very funny. I'm not going to win it because I didn't say net pass yards. But Jalen's net passing yards in this game were 65, and there were 66 comments.
Yeah, but you didn't say net passing yards.
No, I know, but it's so funny that it was literally one.
Oh man, I would have been sick. I would have been sick if that happened. I would have been out for every commenter.
Oh man, Travis Motter. If a big field goal is needed at the end of the game, would you call a timeout right before the snap to give Jake a free practice kick? Sounds crazy, but I don't know
if that helps or hurts.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're that bad with your timeouts that you've got, I don't know.
There's that too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I would ask Jake what he wants.
Right.
Frankly.
Yes.
Yeah.
No question.
And then the last one, evil Zack Berman says power rankings are better than well-written personal stories.
I hope Zack hears that one.
You know it's evil Zack Berman because well-written should be hyphenated. We got the CDP one. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Bring it back. That's what we did to bring you the super chats. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.